our political editor, Beth Rigby, is speaking now to Kim Leadbeater, who, of course, spearheaded this private members' bill.
Yes, Sophie. Kim Leadbeater is very busy now in Central Lobby. Everyone's come out. Kim Leadbeater is here with us. Kim, thank you for joining us on Sky News. I asked you before the debate if you would come out, and you said, I'll come and talk to you either way. I might be in floods of tears, but you are not. The bill has passed. How are you feeling?
Well, I'm nearly in floods of tears because it's been a really emotional process. But I'm incredibly proud that I think today we've seen Parliament at its best. We had some brilliant speeches from people with different views and different opinions across all sides of the House. But I think we've done what needed to be done, which is to take this really important piece of legislation to the next level. And my thoughts are with the families and the many people who have campaigned on this issue for decades. It's not a new issue. We've just taken it to that next really important stage here in Parliament today.
It's been quite a personal battle for you, hasn't it? You have been a lightning rod for abuse. You have had to fight this every day. Did you always believe it would pass, or did you feel at times it's a bit much?
I genuinely didn't know what would happen today because I know how strongly people feel about this issue in a variety of different ways. And you're right, it's been a tough journey for me personally, but, no people have suffered more than this than the people who are currently struggling as a result of the inadequacies of the law as it stands. So, I might have been the facilitator of this process, but actually it's their voices that I think always needed to be heard, and they were heard today. Those stories were told, and we've now got to make sure that we take on board everything that was discussed in the Chamber, whether that's the state of palliative care, that's the NHS, it's the rights of disabled people. Those are all really valuable campaigns, and I look forward to championing them all, but also taking the bill forward to make sure that we give terminally ill adults that choice that they desperately need at the end of their lives.
And Kim, in the Commons, you talked about how you had come to Westminster, but you always wanted to speak beyond Westminster, and you talked about how this did have popular support. The majority of people did want assisted dying. For our viewers who have watched this debate, and it's the second reading, but now it has to go through, if you like, it's the beginning of a conversation, isn't it? Can you just explain what will happen now? How will the government get involved? And ultimately, how confident are you it will come into law, and when might that be?
Yeah, you're right. I didn't set out to be an MP. I never really wanted to be an MP, if I'm honest, but I've come in this place to try and make a difference, and this is a huge issue of our time. The next stage will happen. I probably won't speak about it today. I might get some sleep. But the Bill Committee will probably be early in the new year. That will be a committee which is made up of members from across the House with a variety of different views. As I said, we will take evidence for that committee. And I think it's fair to say, Lucy Powell, the Speaker of the House, has said the Leader of the House has said on numerous occasions, the government will then support the workability and the operation of that bill. So I think things will really start to happen now. But also, the Bill Committee will be open to amendments. It will be open to scrutiny. So let's get this bill, and I think it's a blooming good bill, as I would, but if there's things that need to change, we can do that. We can do that collaboratively and collegiately across the House. So there's a long way to go, 6 months, I would imagine, before the bill were to become law. And then there's the implementation after that. Obviously, there's a lot to think about. We need to get it right, but I will work hard, as I have done in these recent months, to make sure that we do get this right and we show Parliament at its very best.
You said, Kim, in the Commons that it could take up to 2 years. When do you think the third reading, just to explain to us, the third reading is when it's the legislation is all ready and MPs finally decide whether to put it into law. When do you think that could be?
Yeah, I would say that's probably going to be in the next 6 months. And then there is the commencement period, which, again, I would work with government on to establish the timeframes around that. So to go through Bill Committee, report stage, third reading in the Lords, probably talking around 6 months.
And, just on a couple of substantive points, Danny Kruger spoke very much about worrying about people feeling that they're a burden and they have to, in the end, everyone will have to take a decision about whether or not to end their lives if they are terminally ill. It will be something that touches everyone's lives. At the end of life, everyone's going to end up having this conversation. And you talked about it just being for a few people. He said it wasn't. What do you think of that as an argument? It is a profound societal change for all of us, isn't it?
But what I hope this will do, and indeed what it actually already has done, Beth, is facilitated conversations up and down the country about death and dying. And we don't talk about those things enough. I think that's a really positive thing. But what we've also done is shone a light on the situation as it stands. So at the moment, no one is checking whether people are taking their own lives when they're terminally ill because they feel a burden or because they've been coerced. So we're putting a legal framework around what is essentially a really unsafe system. And I firmly believe the safeguards that are built into the bill will create safety. It will put light on a situation. As one of my quotes in the speech was, coercion happens behind closed doors. We're putting that out there. We're involving doctors. We're involving a High Court judge in the process. This is much more efficient and robust than the current situation for so many people who are struggling.
If you don't mind, what do you think Jo would think, your sister? You came into politics, you took her seat in a by-election, you didn't want to do it, and now you have passed, potentially, a massive law that will touch people's lives.
I think about Jo every day. I've thought about her a lot in the last few months. I haven't talked about her very much, but I think about her all the time. Jo went into politics to make a difference. I've done exactly the same, and I know she'd be extremely proud. She voted for a similar bill back in 2015. So, yeah, I think she'd be very proud. And she'd be very proud, actually, of the way that Parliament has conducted itself today, as am I. I've got huge respect for everybody who's spoken today, and I think the debate was done in a really professional and respectful manner, and that's what Jo believed in, and it's what I believe in.
Kim Leadbeater, thank you so much, and I'm sure we'll have you back on to talk about this. Thank you for your time on Sky News. Thanks, Kim.